In the 1994 Disney film, The Lion King, there is a scene in which Simba plops himself down onto the ground, causing some leaves and dirt and whatnot to flutter up into the air, at which point they apparently spell the word sex. The very next year, it happened again in the Disney film Pocahontas, as Kikata summons the image of a rabbit in a stream of smoke. And then again the following year in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, when Frollo sees Esmeralda dancing in the flames in his fireplace. The word sex even appears to appear in Disney's 2013 film Frozen. People have been spotting this filth in Disney films for years now, and some people think that it's being done on purpose. They argue that Disney sends subliminal messages. That is, they're sending sexual subliminal messages. Conspiracy theorists, who are particularly committed to this, argue not that Disney is doing this necessarily, but that the Illuminati is doing this, and that Disney has been infiltrated by them. But to those who argue that the word sex has been snuck into all of these films, the counter-argument is that in spite of the fact that it does look like SEX, it's actually SFX, which is an abbreviated version of special effects. Animators have been known to sneak this abbreviation into a scene as a sort of inside joke or shout out to the special effects department whenever they've animated something that was particularly difficult to animate. And that more or less explains why it is so easily misread. If an animator snuck SFX into a brick wall, we probably wouldn't have this problem. But when you sneak it into fire and icicles and smoke and dirt in the wind, the capital F can easily be mistaken for a capital E. Some people insist that the word sex can be found in this Tangled poster. Right here. SEX. Once again, it's possible that the E was supposed to be an F. It's also possible that the E is really up here. Then again, it's also possible that this is all just a bunch of hair, and that these particular letters of the alphabet are impossible not to find when said hair is wrapped around somebody. If this amuses you, you're in luck, because so far we have only scratched the surface. Some have argued that in this scene from 1989's The Little Mermaid, the bishop gets aroused. In an interview with the Huffington Post, Tom Cito, the animator who created this character, claims that it's actually the bishop's niece, and if we look at this character from a different angle, we can see it for ourselves. There's another argument that in this scene from 1992's Aladdin, our hero whispers that good teenagers should take off their clothes.
Good teenagers, take off their clothes.
It just so happens to rhyme with what the quote-unquote actual line is, good tiger, take off and go. Something like that. Apparently it was an ad-lib. Once again, according to Mr. Cito, the two animators responsible for that sequence are very religious, and that, quote, that's not their sense of humor. Cito also had something to say about the few frames in 1988's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where the audience is apparently able to see what's under Jessica Rabbit's dress, which is to say what's not under her dress. According to Cito, this kind of thing happened now and then in the pre-VHS days, because the human eye can't catch this stuff at 24 frames a second. Now, make of that whatever you will. Who Framed Roger Rabbit was not released prior to the VHS era. It was released right smack in the middle of the VHS era. Furthermore, if this was supposed to be a subliminal message, it wasn't very subliminal. Jessica Rabbit is already a blatantly sexualized character. She's wearing a high-slit dress, she's airborne, and her legs are open. It is thus not surprising that this was revealed shortly after the movie was released on home entertainment, resulting in later copies being digitally altered. Smooth move, Illuminati. The all-seeing eye didn't see that coming. Sometimes the explanation for these subliminal messages is very simple and very boring. In the last scene from 2001's Monsters, Inc., someone on the internet pointed out this picture beside the closet door. If you've never noticed this picture in the movie, that's because it's not in the movie. In this scene from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, just as these blessed letters appear in the flames, some have argued that Esmeralda becomes unclothed just before vanishing, which would be a plausible theory if nipples did not exist. Speaking of which, one of the oldest examples of a supposed subliminal message in a Disney film was from this scene in 1977's The Rescuers. As Bianca and Bernard fly through New York City, there are two frames in which a topless woman can be seen in one of the windows whizzing by. What makes this particular case different from all the rest is the fact that this is not part of the animation. It was obviously not drawn by the same people who animated the film. It may very well not be a a drawing at all, but rather a photograph. What truly makes this unique is that this is the only alleged subliminal message that Disney has owned up to. They didn't claim that it was a subliminal message, but they did admit that it was indeed a picture of a topless woman, that somebody likely slipped it in during post-production, and they recalled 3.4 million copies of the movie just to save face. Again, well done, guys. Well, it should be apparent by now that slipping dirty words and images into animated films post-VCR that everybody watches is an inefficient way to control the minds of children. But if none of the arguments made so far seem impressive to you, then perhaps the best argument against all of this is the following question. Of all the things that Disney or the Illuminati could brainwash us into thinking, why would they pick the one thing that we are already biologically pre-programmed to think about? You might as well hide the word food. Arguably, this whole matter could be a simple dilemma of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Instead of all this stuff being deliberately hidden subliminal messages designed to corrupt our minds, maybe our minds are already in the gutter. And that's why we see dicks and boobs and naked women everywhere, even in Disney films. Just a theory, just a playful theory.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're killing me.